Good afternoon, greater Philadelphia area. This is Toole Time Real Estate Radio on WWDB 860 AM. I'm Tom Toole. She's Sarah Timon. We both work at the Tom Toole Sales Group at RE/MAX Main Line, the number one RE/MAX team in Pennsylvania since 2018. And we are talking about the jobs report. Sarah studies this religiously every single month. We got a Fed meeting happening this week. And really what it's going to mean for people that are thinking about transacting, because there is a lot of questions about the economy right now. We've got a segment about the New York Times taking aim at real estate agents in a recent podcast that has some very questionable information. We'll break that down. And the MLS book is back. Do you know what the MLS book is?
No.
So it was a book of listings that people would keep in their office. I saw this as a kid because my dad obviously is in real estate. Well, there's a company bringing it back. We'll see if that's a joke, an innovative move, or just maybe a troll move, or whatever the intentions are next. So if you get some value out of this, you like what you hear, make sure to subscribe to the channel, hit the bell for notifications. And if you want to schedule a call with our team, Sarah specifically, to go over what all this means for the market and your decisions and your goals, you can do that with the link in the comments. So the jobs report came out on Friday. And non-farm payrolls, this is usually the measure that they look at. There was 177,000 jobs added for the month, below March, but way above the Dow Jones estimate of 133,000. And the unemployment rate stayed at 4.2%, showing that the labor market's holding relatively stable. We saw the stock market jump up a little bit, 30-year fixed rates kind of stayed where they are. And this has been more of the same here with his jobs numbers. The labor market's just not breaking. And it's created some stability when it comes to interest rates. And we've got a Fed meeting coming up, Sarah, and that's happening literally, in the next day or so here. And it's pretty clear the Fed's not going to be dropping rates, which tells me that this is kind of the market we're in. This is the rates we're going to see for the next 30, 60, 90 days. How are your clients reacting to all this? I mean, I think some people are kind of hoping they come down, but I don't know that hoping's an actual valid strategy.
Right. I mean, I think everyone would love to see them come down. That's, obvious. But no, I don't think the fact that they're not is going to, if you've already been out there and you're already motivated, the stability of them staying the same has been positive. Everybody would like them to be lower, but we're below that threshold of where people start to feel really uncomfortable.
I agree there. I mean, rates are coming in. We're seeing like high sixes. If you have good credit, your income looks good, you have a healthy down payment, and we're seeing steady payroll growth. I mean, I don't want to see people lose jobs, by the way. I think
Right.
I don't think anyone wants to see that. Maybe the Fed does if they want rates to come down. There's an interesting gauge, though, here, because I don't know how much you can believe these numbers. Remember last August, they cut them by like a third. I mean, that's a large margin of error. There's a broader unemployment gauge that's used as a measurement that includes discouraged workers and the people holding part-time jobs, or the underemployed, they call them, and that edged lower to 7.8%. And the labor force participation rate ticked higher to 62.6%. So seeing the labor force participation, I think that's pretty interesting because you got like stay-at-home moms and people on disability and those sort of things. And the discouraged workers and underemployed, the part-time jobs is interesting because some people don't file for unemployment if they got a part-time job, right? But they're not necessarily fully employed. So we'll have to watch these numbers and I mean, they're going to have an effect. I mean, this is just kind of more of the same here. So, Realtor.com and Danielle Hale, they did a nice job breaking this down in a little more of a simple way rather than looking at all these numbers. And it reveals that there's, some churn and that these numbers are staying consistent. But I think a lot of people wonder what this actually means for home buyers and sellers. Is that fair to say?
Mm-hmm.
So there's some advantages for buyers here because now they've got more options with inventory growing. They've got more time to make decisions. I think the higher rates have slowed the market down substantially. Have you had any buyers that have kind of come back into the picture, maybe from a year or two ago, because the market was moving too fast for them or because they had limited options?
I don't know that it's specifically because of that. I do have some people that did come back to the market again, but I think it was just like a number of factors that went into it, not specifically with like, oh, I think I'm going to have more time to make decisions or,
Mhm.
necessarily like negotiate things out. Certainly, inventory is going to be a factor. I think a bigger driver than I think I'll have more time to make decisions because I think a lot of times people don't know that until they're actually out doing it.
I agree with that. And we did a role play this morning with about 100 people across the country where we talked about the inventory challenge, or we talked about people having a hard time finding what they want. And sometimes it's, hey, what would it take for you to not consider the next town over? What would it take for you not to consider a townhome versus single family home? And there's got to be some sacrifices that buyers are making. Or any of the people that you're transacting with right now, do you see them maybe giving a little bit on what they did their first what they told you the first meeting versus what they actually end up doing?
Yeah, and I think part of that comes with realizing that the exact search that they have set up the way it is isn't producing any results.
Mhm.
you
Yeah.
know, like you have to, at that point, it's not just like a slow day or a slow week or a slow month. It's something has to be adjusted here, or if you want to move forward, you can always kind of be there waiting in case if the right magical one pops up. But if that happens, chances are competition's going to be there, right?
Something you said there's probably other people waiting for the same home. So, if you're not adjusting your search, you may be in this cycle where we've all had people that have looked for homes for like a year, 2 years. And
Mhm.
that to me is worse than anything the economy's doing right now.
Right. I mean, yeah. So I guess I don't know that like any specific thing has necessarily brought people back other than the fact that they didn't get something yet, and like whatever their situation is has gotten to the point where something needs to give.
I agree there. And I think that the silver lining with this report is that, job creation and wage growth, they're kind of essential to deal with this affordability challenge that we have right now. And in that sense, the jobs report's reassuring. And I think we're going to start to see in the months coming ahead, people worried about tariffs and job concerns, or maybe adjusting their home buying plans as they move through this, because I think that the economic uncertainty backed up by a strong jobs report doesn't necessarily add up, right? So I think
Yeah.
it's a positive there in that regard. So that brings us kind of to the Fed meeting here, and what rates did. Actually, before we get to the Fed meeting, let's talk about what rates did last week. So we talked about rates staying stable. Have you gotten any like pushback on rates? I mean, it seems like people are okay with these now, at least the ones that are transacting. We're seeing 6.88% today on the 30-year fix from Mortgage News Daily. I mean, this is kind of where they've been for the past few months.
Yeah, no, I really haven't. I had a situation come up just this week, I think, where I wasn't expecting this, but a property that I have a client that might be interested in. It's a completed new construction where the agent let me know the builder would be willing to do a 2-1 buy down
Oh,
without that was without asking. That
so
was like,
explain a 2-1 buy down to everybody,
yes.
because we know what that means, but some people don't.
So a 2-1 buy down would be like, if you look at what the current interest rate is now, they're going to bring it down. Is it 2 percentage points for the first year and then 1, or they're going to bring it? Yeah. So they'll bring it down to whatever 2 percentage points lower would be what that cost is. And you would get that for 1 year. And then the next year it would go up 1%. So you'd be 1% higher than the previous 1%, but still 1% lower than the rate where it is now. And then you would get up to, for year 3, you would be at the current interest rate. And they generally offer that as a credit to the seller. So they're not like prepaying your lender for you. They're giving that cash to you at the time of settlement that you can apply towards that.
Where the 2-1 buy down makes a lot of sense is if someone gets a newer job, or they're going to be able to grow into the payment. They know they have a high ceiling on their income, because you're in business for yourself, right? You're getting started, or maybe you're in that growth mode. That can make a lot of sense. And it's a smart move by builders, because the people that have the most inventory right now are builders.
Yeah.
And new construction is, we don't have an inventory problem right now. We have an affordable inventory problem. And new construction is, the average sale prices are 700 to like $1 million, depending on what county you're in our marketplace. So that's pretty fascinating to me. Did your clients do the deal? Like,
we're still, it's in the,
they're thinking about it.
They're thinking about it. We've narrowed down to like a few, and that's certainly a positive piece for that property. And then like you can get creative with what you can negotiate out and what you can do to save your clients money. Now, typically the way that's going to be able to happen is properties that maybe need a little bit of TLC, or properties that have been on the market a little bit longer, or properties where like you've come across it maybe before it hits the market, but you know that there's like hurdles there, right? So, on the house that hits the market that has, 10 offers in, like, no, that's not the property you're going to be able to do this for, but you can find ways to make deals and to make things positive and to put a good spin on, putting a little of muscle work into a property,
sweat equity,
and making it and having the seller pay for it.
So I think that's really smart. And the reason agents are having success right now and buyers are, we talked about this on this role play we did this morning with the BAMX community. There's like 5 things you can do to really help people with their search. Because what a lot of agents don't get, and what buyers want, they want someone to help them with their search, right? So the first is make sure that you're expanding the options like we talked about. What would it take to go to this town? What would it take to consider a 3-bedroom versus a 4-bedroom? Just talk through some of these things and ask some better questions. The second is to make sure that your people are literally up to the second with coming soon inventory, or you've done this where you're soliciting the neighborhood and you're trying to get in touch with homeowners. What's that made your clients feel like when they actually get to the home that they want to end up buying, knowing that you're not only just looking what's on the market, but you're trying to produce off-market inventory as well?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's building a level of trust and showing that, like, if I'm putting that level of work into something before we even have identified like the property, that like when the right one comes up, that I will give them the right advice and like fight for them.
I think it also helps them realize like this might be our best chance to find a home,
right?
Because
like
they know you're out there hunting
into like all the other things that it wasn't there. Yeah,
and that's pretty important. I know you just went through that with a client, so that's strategy 2. Strategy 3 is targeting homes with higher days on market. Like you talked about, maybe some sweat equity. These properties are sitting there and there's so many opportunities that are right in front of people, but they don't see them because they don't have the right advice. Has that played out for any of your clients favorably over the past 6 months, Sarah?
Yeah, for sure. You absolutely want to look at those days on market. And, if I'm on the listing side of something, like I can advise my client for what may, reinvigorate the property. And oftentimes it is, but it can be the case that it's by a price adjustment and they're not quite there yet. It sometimes takes writing that offer and telling, like having something sure in front of somebody sometimes is like, okay, like, yeah, I didn't want to reduce it to that on the market, because then I think people are going to offer even lower than that. But that number, I can make this work at that number, and that wraps this up. So it's kind of a win-win for everybody.
Yeah, and I mean, we both went through a transaction recently where it was the same thing. We had a great agent on the other side, and there was some dialogue, there was some negotiating, and now everyone's really happy. And it ended up going for a fair number, which is a win for the buyer and the seller. So I think that's a great example. Curating the search. This to me is something a lot of folks don't do, where instead of just like blasting off the automatic emails, that's important, but it's all, anybody can do that. I mean, where you send the properties like, hey, I went through this home. You don't want to go see this. It's a busy road. This property could work. It needs a little elbow grease or sweat equity. This home's in really great shape. It's probably going to go quickly, and it looks like it checks a lot of your boxes. Do you curate that for people and bring options to the table?
Yeah. So I like to have an auto search set up for them, because I don't want there to be a situation where, because I had a busy day, they didn't get a property. Like I want to make sure that they're always getting everything. But then I do like to comb through and point out things about properties, both positive and negative, so that they kind of get a better picture. Because sometimes if a lot falls into your like search catch or whatever, where like it's easy to just kind of, if you get too many, you don't really feel like diving into them. So and sometimes the best options are ones that like initially it's like, oh, but If you can like point out how it can be made to be what it is that they want, and like, how you could get there, and that like actually in the whole grand scheme of things, like this could be a good situation.
Mm-hmm.
It's good to point that out. And then also for homes, like you said, that do check all the boxes as is, but like it may or may, like it could go quickly. You want to be careful about how often you do that, because you want it to still mean something to them when you send them something. You don't want to like every day be like, and here's another one.
Yeah, exactly.
But like if there is something that really sticks out, I often like to text that one over versus having it be an email. Just because like they can pull it up on their phone right there. They can take a look at it and it's like, hey, this one's like, look at this.
I love that you're doing that. I remember vividly a very good friend of mine, like his wife was kind of driving the search. He's like, call me when you find something good. And I said to her, I said, you need to tell him to get his butt out of the office and come look at this home right now. And they bought it right on the spot. And they're like, we're adding on to it. It's great. It's exactly where we want to be. You've got to have a brain and like think through this stuff. So that's 4 different strategies you can do to produce inventory, or at least change the way inventory is coming across the buyer's desk. And the 5th one, and we talk about this all the time, are the 10 different ways you can win an offer. Because there's things that don't cost you anything, doesn't cost the buyer anything, but like being nice to the listing agent, sending a video, being really professional in your documents. Those sort of strategies, that's what's going to help you when these folks get concerned about what's going on with rates and the jobs report and everything else, because there's still many people out there that want to transact. So I think it's the process more than anything else. I mean, we just came from an appointment and I got the impression we were a lot more thorough than most of the people there.
Yeah.
So what were some of the cues you picked up on? Because it's surprising to me how people show up at these appointments and they're just not prepped.
Wow, you really did your homework.
Yeah, she did say that.
Like, this is a lot of really good information. I didn't know that.
Yeah, exactly.
Things like that.
Well, and that's where agents can win business, and that's where consumers, if you're listening to this and you have that experience at a meeting with someone like Sarah, well, that's who you probably want to go with, not like you have the friend of a friend connection or something like that.
And I mean, I've also had offers accepted before where the listing agent has specifically said, we picked your offer because, not that like they liked me, but like I was, like I was friendly, I was polite, and I was responsive, and I got, and we're on the road a lot. Like you can't always get a document to somebody the second that they call, but you can let them know when it's coming, and then you can send it when you say you will. And you can like keep them in the loop as to where things are at, and like do things as quickly as you like can. So I think being responsive, picking up the phone and communicating with the other side makes them feel like if this is what they're doing before we're under contract, I have a feeling they'll keep doing that while under contract and get it to the settlement table.
I love that you talked about returning phone calls, because Chris Smith, he wrote the conversion code and exactly what to say for real estate agents. So he's been putting out a lot of information about this. And I have 2 things I want to share. One of them is, people say, hey, I'm not like other agents. And then they do exactly what every other agent does. He goes, what would make you different? Actually returning your phone calls. Like it's such a simple thing. But how many times do you call like an agent and you just never get a hold of them?
Right.
It's why I'm trying to get feedback on a listing right now, but no calls, no text, no response. It's wild to me. So I think that's a really good point from Sarah there to win listings. So the last thing I want to talk about here, because I think there's some, there's some good news around inventory, and that we saw the April 2025 monthly housing market trends report from Realtor.com. We have surpassed 2020 inventory this past month. We're up nationally 30.6% year over year in active listings. This isn't new listings. These are listings that are active and available to purchase. So that's the total supply of inventory. And what we're seeing locally in Bright MLS is we're up 32.6% compared to this time last year. Now, I know it doesn't necessarily feel like there's a ton of inventory right now. This is a pretty big milestone here. Now, we're not at pre-pandemic levels yet. We're not, we've got a couple 100,000 homes to go. This is a big deal. So how are you communicating that to folks right now, Sarah? What are you doing to keep your clients in the know?
I think just using some of the tools that you had said for getting properties in front of people so that like as more do just come up in their search, you're able to kind of highlight the ones that really maybe have the most potential. And just having conversations about what that means for the buyer, how it impacts the search and how it impacts the offers. And I feel like I always like open and close with, there is no exact formula. So everything is like house specific and case by case.
Really well said. And I just this is something you want to let people know about because they get frustrated and they kind of bow out of the market a little bit. They may not pay attention. This is big news, and that would be a great opener if you're calling folks. Hey, we're seeing more inventory than what's been on the market over the past 5 years. How would that impact your real estate plans? And there's tangible data behind that. And this chart is really helpful when you see that here. Listing counts growing, obviously. There's a lot of good news here. And you talked about a formula. I have a formula for you. You want the formula for the buyers waiting for the perfect time to enter the market?
Yes.
So it's when you find the right house, you can afford the payment, and you plan to be there for 5 or more years.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the magic formula. That's from Chris Smith. And that's really the only way to time the market. It's not timing the market. It's timing your life around, okay, is this the right house for me? Can I afford it? And am I going to be here long term? Because I mean, you stay somewhere 5 years. Look what's happened with prices over the past 5 years. It's been pretty incredible. So we got this Fed meeting coming up. Inventory's up. Fed's not going to move rates. Any advice you have for folks that maybe are a little frustrated with the market right now? Because I see a lot of positives around housing here, that we got stability. We're seeing more options. Rates have been persistently in the same range. We're not seeing that volatility we saw a year or two ago. I come to you, I'm saying, Sarah, help me. I don't know what to do. I'm frustrated. What are you saying to folks right now?
Yeah. So if you're the buyer, finding out why they're frustrated. Is it that they're not winning any offers? And are they doing the same thing every time? That is the reason why you're not getting your offer accepted, and sometimes it does take not getting a home or two to kind of like adjust the way that you do things. If it's I'm frustrated with inventory, like what can we do to expand it? I'm frustrated with pricing or like what my monthly payment is going to be. Well, can we do something to get that monthly payment down? Or does having more cash in your pocket mean more to you than some of those items that are currently on your must-have list? Because you can pay less, you just get less,
Yeah.
So kind of figuring out what the line is for like what really matters the most. And then, is it still a viable option to move forward, or do you not really need to move?
And not moving is an option, right?
Yeah.
I love that. That's how you're laying it out. I'm hearing ask better questions, get clear on what they want, and say, hey, you don't have to do anything here, by the way, because you don't. I mean, they may not want to stay. They may not want to be there, but that's an option. And that's really going to help you answer this magic formula here from Chris Smith, because if you're going to be there, you can afford it 5+ years, and it makes sense for your family. That's the reason to buy a home. And when you focus on that stuff, the market becomes a little easier to navigate.
Right. And in terms of like pricing and everything for stuff, I mean, what somebody is willing to pay for it is what the house is worth. So like you have to kind of have that mindset in there as well. Not like, adding up what you think it would go for. It's like, this is where it is.
Yeah, I totally agree. Great way to frame it here. And all this is just getting the right information to make the winning decision for the consumer. That's really all we're trying to do here. So we're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back and talk about this New York Times podcast and whether it's right or wrong. We've got a couple reactions here. We'll break it down next on Toole Time Real Estate Radio on WWDB 860 AM.
Real estate, you want control over your income. Whether you have a license or not, call us today at 610-692-6976 or visit TomToole.com. Join our team, the Tom Toole Sales Group at RE/MAX Main Line. Making for the best local mortgage service and great rates on your money, look no further than Mortgage America. We've been operating in the Philadelphia area for 40 years with a focus on smooth.
Makes you feel better. Keith had his sewer line back up in his house today.
Oh no!
Has that ever happened to you before?
No.
Happened to my father-in-law. There's like shit coming through that.
Oh God.
programs and access to subsidized interest rates. Pre-approval is free, no costs or commitments. To learn more, visit our website at mymortgageamerica.com or give us a call at 610-439-8000. We always have a person
See if
available
traffic
to take your call with around-the-clock
changes,
human
but
service. Purchase your home with
are you just planning on heading straight there to?
Yes,
Yeah.
like,
Do you go like let us in early if we get there?
I don't think he was like very adamant he had to be there 5:30.
Becoming a real estate agent in the
I wish
greater
we could do
Philly
it.
area, I have a special offer for you. Our team did $165 million of volume in
Probably like 45
2021,
minutes from here.
making us the #1 RE/MAX team in Pennsylvania and a top 1% team.
Like, I'm not gonna go home and then late because then that's like, who knows what happens.
Well, I did. I think last week I had I forget what time the appointment was, but it was like in King of Prussia. And I would have had like, I went home because I had 45
you live
minutes
very
at
close to
home.
King of Prussia.
Yeah, yes, that was fine. But it was one of those things where like Maddie saw me then, and then I had to like leave again, and it was just like, but I didn't want to like sit in my car for 45 minutes. But you know, like if you run in just for a minute and they see you, then it's like, don't go.
Oh, my kids are a little older. They're like, see you later, loser.
Oh, get out of here.
Get more out of your real estate career, and remember,
where I live, it's like not like very convenient to like a lot of roads.
Mhm.
So it's like where you are, it's like super convenient.
Yeah.
Welcome back to Toole Time Real Estate Radio on WWDB 860 AM. I'm Tom Toole. She's Sarah Time, and we both work at the Tom Toole Sales Group at RE/MAX Mainline, the #1 RE/MAX team in Pennsylvania since 2018. And we are talking about this New York Times podcast that, I mean, I wouldn't even call this journalism, Sarah, and I think you'll understand why when we go through this here. And we're also going to talk about the MLS listing book that is coming back to the market. And insane to me, this is something that we're talking about. So if you get some value out of this or you like what you hear, make sure to subscribe to the channel, hit the bell for notifications to stay up to date. And if you want to schedule a call with our team about how to navigate all this stuff and talk to Sarah specifically, she's got many happy clients that listen to the show. You can do that with the link below in the YouTube comments. So this New York Times podcast, I didn't listen to this, full disclosure. I'm kind of pulling the clips here. It comes from Deborah Kamen. And it was, I guess it's The Daily. It's the New York Times flagship podcast. And they talked about the real estate industry's response to the landmark commission settlement. And the episode paints the picture that real estate agents are resisting change, evading reform, and using creative tactics to maintain the status quo. So here's here's what she said on the podcast. And again, I don't know that this is even journalism. She said the idea behind the lawsuits was that their rules had essentially fixed prices on real estate commissions, inflated them, and made it so real estate commissions were higher than they should have been. They did not expect to lose the lawsuit, but they did lose this lawsuit, and the jury agreed they were fixing prices on real estate commissions. The fact that people think commissions aren't negotiable, I still don't understand this. I mean, it happens all the time.
Right.
Settlement was meant to shake up the system of how those commissions are determined and how they're paid. So here were the three takeaways, and I want to get your reaction to this. The MLS ban didn't end commission conversations. Agents were told they could no longer advertise commissions on MLS, so they started sharing the information via text, email, and private landing pages. The podcast also said agents even share information through coded signals and listing photos, like placing 3 cookies on a counter to imply a 3% co-op fee.
What the?
I haven't seen any of this. I mean, this is insane. This is just not accurate.
It's wild.
Okay, here's number 2. Buyer and sellers still face lack of clarity despite rule changes. Many consumers say they're still pressured to pay 5 to 6% in commissions with little explanation or flexibility. I had a hard time with this one as well.
I mean, I think that, right, like you can explain the scenarios and how it plays out. And like at the end of the day, typically, if you want a good, smooth transaction, you want your home to be properly marketed. If you're on the sell side, you want all of these things to come together. You want to have negotiations done on your behalf. You want to make it to settlement. You pay for it. And that goes for, and you can certainly negotiate out how you want to do that. But the money's going to get allocated somewhere. It's either going to be you paid less in commission and then maybe didn't get what you were looking for on, you know, some of the different like terms or pricing, not necessarily, but definitely a option, or you try and do it on your own and pay 17% more, but you saved on the commission.
Mhm.
So, it's kind of, nothing is free.
I totally agree with you. And on top of that, it's also factually inaccurate.
And it's wrong.
I mean, we've sold since August of last year. I mean, I don't know. I mean, probably close to 500 homes. I'd have to look at the numbers. We've got, I mean, we sold 490 last year. We've got 227 sold year to date. So regardless, I mean, that's just, it's just absolutely wrong that that's the case. I know exactly what the fees are on all these sales, and it's not accurate. Here's number 3. With more agents than listings in many markets, that is true. Realtors are getting creative, following cues from leadership at NAR and working around the new limitations to protect their income. She's calling it the great workaround. The settlement was very specific in its language that these conversations about splitting commissions could not happen on these databases. So the real estate community was like, okay, we'll move these conversations elsewhere. It never said we can't have them at all. That's exactly what the settlement said.
Wait, hon, I feel like I lost you there.
So you can't advertise commissions on the databases, MLS, right?
Right.
And she said the community said, okay, we'll move these conversations elsewhere. It never said we can't have them at all. That's exactly what we were told to do, was that you can't share commission information on the MLS.
Right.
You can communicate it other ways.
How are you supposed to know if you don't communicate it? We're supposed to use this 3 cookie rule?
Yeah, I mean,
who's following that?
This is ridiculous. And it just goes on and on here, just with factually inaccurate. It's not even journalism. So before we get into the comments here, I want to play this from Jared James. I thought he did a nice job breaking this down here, because you put this stuff out there. I mean, what happened to like checking sources, and like, how did the editor even allow this to get published is the problem I have with this.
How and what is she getting paid?
I don't know. Is she sharing it? Right. So let's listen to Jared James here.
Reporter for the real estate section of the New York Times making inaccurate statements about the settlement, about our industry, about the people in our industry. And I don't know how you keep a job doing that. It makes absolutely no sense to me, other than she works at the New York Times. So I guess it does make sense to me. As it was, I started listening to the podcast, and it was her and another gentleman who does the podcast for the New York Times. And right off the bat, they continually keep saying realtors, realtors, realtors. And anybody in this industry knows that as soon as you hear somebody say realtor, they don't know this industry at all, because that's not how you say it. It's realtor. It's not realtor. There is no A in there. And yet this is the person representing real estate within that industry. She goes on to say in this interview, let's just get right into it, guys. She goes on to say.
So he goes on and on here and talks about all this, but it's just totally wrong. And then the comment section, I mean, it's pretty wild. So, and you see these comments here. I mean, there's like 170 some comments, and a lot of the people that were from non-real estate agents were disappointed by the bias against agents in the industry. And there's a comment here. This is the second time this podcast has decided to call realtors Goliath. Very few realtors make a livable wage, which is 100% accurate.
Yeah.
It's a rare opportunity for single mothers and people without a college degree to be able to support their families just by being great at their job. I wish the Daily had spent a little more time trying to understand the life of the average realtor instead of paying the bulk of the interview on a guy who purported to have a terrible time not selling his $1.7 million home so he could retire on a beach. I mean, this is wild, and they did talk about this case study from, I get Mike Chambers, who's a former athlete and entrepreneur, and I mean, a $2.7 million home is not easy to sell. So, and he talked about state rules that he couldn't circumvent, and I don't know, the whole thing is just ridiculous here, and I think this is part of the problem that people in our industry, like you and me, and a lot of the folks on our team, and there's other great agents. I mean, I think of some agents we've worked with recently, we get a bad rap because of this nonsense that's just factually inaccurate.
Right. And I mean, I think we do a success fee for how we get paid, meaning unless if it makes it to settlement, like we're not getting paid anything, right? If you line itemed out all of the things that you do and the hours that you spend different things like on different items and just like charged by the hour, I don't know that people would really like that either. I
mean, attorneys charge by the hour.
Right.
I mean, some clients I'd love to charge by the hour. I think that'd be great. And agents don't get a base salary. there's no insurance, right? You don't get benefits or any of that stuff. And not that, I mean, I think the settlement is what it is, but they don't talk to any home buyers. And then they talk about this gentleman who tried to sell this home for $2.75 million, said that he couldn't find someone to list it for less than a certain rate. There are plenty of flat fee options and reduced commission options from all kinds of companies. Like you can find that pretty easily.
Yeah.
MLS placement listings. I mean, it's just wrong. So, it's frustrating to me knowing the work that you and I do. I mean, I'm personally offended.
Must see the value in using an agent if he wants an agent, like if he's looking for an agent that's going to do it below it, because you can certainly list it yourself.
Mm-hmm. You definitely can. I mean, but
if you're gonna use an agent, you do have to pay for them.
Mm-hmm. I mean, and these comments, it just went on and on and on here. I mean, there was, you could go down like a rabbit hole here, reading all of this stuff. And I think that, the way to combat this for an agent is the things that we do all the time. Let's sit down. Let's go over everything in detail. We were talking about the appointment we came from earlier. I didn't know that. I can't believe all the prep work that you did. Explaining everything, including the documents. I think a lot of agents, they hide behind electronic signatures and just send them over and say, hey, let me know when they're signed. And they don't read through it with people. Stuff like this doesn't help. I can't believe you're even allowed to publish this, but I guess the New York Times can do this stuff all the time. I think that's really the issue.
Sure.
So, with that, do you find that you have to defend yourself in the current market, or is that something you've always done, or like justify or demonstrate your worth? Like, are you finding more of that or less than that now that we're about 9 months after the settlement here? Are you finding you've got to defend yourself or justify your worth?
Maybe to some degree, but so I think there probably is the conversation more, I would say, with buyers, like, because we're going through some of these steps prior to going out and looking at anything. So you're having some of these conversations that, right out up front. So being able to, like, in the just act of explaining what the documents are that they're signing, you're having that conversation. Typically, I'm able to have that conversation without issues.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that answers the question.
Well, it sounds like you're prepared. I mean, and I'm a big believer that you got to go in every appointment. And this is why I pre-qualify everything I walk into. I mean, if you're interviewing against other agents, it's probably going to change your appointment, right? If someone says like, hey, I'm thinking about selling on my own versus listing with an agent, you're probably going to bring up some different talking points, right? If someone says, hey, yeah, we're looking forward to getting started when we see you, that might be a different appointment. Not that you're not prepared for all these scenarios, but there's things you want to communicate,
because what their focus is kind of more shifting towards during the appointment. So you want to be able to like answer those questions.
Well, and that's when you listen to them and answer their questions, it usually goes a lot better for you too. Right, instead of just talking through whatever you think is going to be most important. That's part of the problem with agents. Do you feel consumers have lost trust in real estate agents? Are they more skeptical?
I don't think so.
I agree with you.
I think that the same people that maybe would have been skeptical before, like, sure, there's still skepticism. And if you had a bad experience, you're going to be more likely to be more skeptical. I would imagine if you're going into this for the first time and you don't have any experience, you probably aren't overly skeptical. If you've done this a few times, if you've had real estate transactions, even if it wasn't a bad experience, you may have more to kind of ask, or different scenarios that like you would be familiar with to know kind of like how it plays out. So you would maybe know what questions to ask that you wouldn't have otherwise known. But I don't know that like overall, I would say people are more skeptical.
So and maybe you're not seeing it because you're prepared, you're well informed, you're trying to help people. I mean, we met with a client earlier this week where it was a couple of years ago. We helped them out. There was no expectation of a transaction, which I think is always a good mindset to have. It's like, let's just give them the information they need and see what happens. I'm imagining the agents that aren't prepared, they see the skepticism more because there was that like Adam Carolla clip. We talked about realtors and like, you got to be kidding me. You didn't know the square footage was there or that sort of stuff. There was a 1,000-watt survey. They do a lot of research around real estate agents. They found that this was last year. They found that more consumers are questioning the value of real estate agents, but 70% believe they need a buyer agent. So they believe they have a need for it. And, consumers are willing to consider new compensation models. A lot of people, I mean, this is all the normal stuff. You're always, I think any business though, I mean, people don't trust lawyers sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
They don't remember. I don't know if you remember like all the accounting Sarbanes-Oxley stuff that happened in like the late 90s, like early 2000s. Probably not, right? So I was an accounting major. So that's why and people like didn't trust accountants because they were cooking the books.
Yeah.
And so there's always going to be that, trust and that you have to build. But when you know what you're talking about, the trust is built easier is what I found.
Right. And I mean, I think literally in any industry, in any field, there's going to be people that are trustworthy and people that aren't. There's going to be people that's skeptical and people that aren't. There's going to be like, I don't think that is just for real estate. I think maybe why you see it a little bit more with real estate is because it's such a big, it's a big thing. Like most people aren't doing this all the time, right? So it's like a big, important step. It's a lot of money. There's a lot of emotions tied up in it. And you're not just like meeting somebody once. Typically, like you're having a lot of interactions with that person. So it's not like you're just like walking into a store and buying a cup of coffee.
I agree. And it's also that there's a very low barrier to entry. But that doesn't mean anything because it's hard to become a lawyer and there's a lot of bad lawyers out there too. True. So, and this is any industry. It's a low barrier to entry and there's so much turnover. And the reality is the consumer doesn't know what's going on either. Right. And I mean,
so like, right. So you might get a lot of like inexperienced people that aren't knowingly trying to be, to do anything wrong. They just don't have the experience to do things differently.
I totally agree. So, I mean, the lesson coming out of this is I'm a big believer that we all need haters in a good way. Like this person is clearly a real estate agent hater or a realtor hater. And that means you're doing something right. If people come out and they're like, oh, look at this person or look at this group. And maybe she's surprised at how the market's reacted post-settlement because I know when the settlement came out, I thought NAR did a horrible job defending it. I thought they could have had a much better case plan. And it was kind of nonsense, like some of the things they're talking about. And maybe she's a hater for real estate agents because maybe she had a bad experience. You never know. Right. And now what's happened is people are still using real estate agents. I mean, I don't know, as much as this settlement has changed things, I don't know that much has really changed.
No, I don't think so.
That may be the lesson here, that they're looking to maybe create a story where it doesn't exist.
Right. Because I mean, like, honestly, once you're in the process and you're doing things, nothing is different.
There's a little more negotiation.
Yeah.
There's a little more paperwork.
Right. Yeah. At the beginning. But I mean, like once you're past that, like once you've done those things, it really isn't different. And yeah, I feel like it's just kind of moving along.
I agree. You know why? Because people need to buy and sell houses, and there is a need for a professional to step in and do that for them.
Right.
Well said, Sarah. All right, we're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back and talk about the return of the MLS book. This looks like a phone book. This is what the MLS books used to look like, but there's a little twist on it here. We'll explain it all next. I got beaten up about this over the weekend, too. You don't even know about this. I'll share it with you live on the show here. Very exciting. We'll be back on Toole Time Real Estate Radio on WWDB 860 AM.
With the #1 RE/MAX team in Pennsylvania with over $165 million in volume for 2021. I'm Tom Toole, and our team has achieved that kind of success by being a great place to work with and to work for. No one knows Greater Philly better than we do. We know real estate, but more importantly, we're real people. We hire the best agents, and we give them all the tools to succeed. Even our brand new agents sell 17 to 24 homes a year because our team delivers the best experience in real estate. Teams deliver a better experience than individuals, and we're a top 1% real estate team in the country. We call it AAA service. We're your advocate, ally, and advisor, because this isn't a transaction to us. It's a relationship. If you're buying or selling a home, call the Tom Toole Sales Group at RE/MAX main line at 610-692-6976.
Wait, who sent this?
Or visit
Agent in Philadelphia.
TomToole.com. That's TomToole.com.
Insane. Look at
Sell
the
your
time.
home for more, and remember the
It's
real
8:56
estate
on a
golden
Sunday.
rule.
Like, this is what you're
You
doing?
always get more when you
Here's a
work
woman.
with
She looks
Tom
like
Toole.
a.
You shouldn't have to deal with all the red tape when getting your mortgage.
So I looked her up. She's sold
from a
8
big
houses in the past 12
online
months.
bank. Mortgage America, we have access to big bank money, but with the personalized and detailed service of a local bank. We are here in your community
So it
and
is.
ready to serve with fast settlements, low down payment options, and first-time home buyer programs. Pre-approval is free, no costs or
How
commitments.
great.
For more information, visit our website at mymortgageamerica.com or give us a call at 610-439-8000.
Free time. Like, I mean, plus, you're going to insult me. Like, how many times I've heard that joke in my
Right.
life? Like,
Yeah.
I mean,
Right.
and all I said was that Refkin doesn't give an F about the, and he's just doing whatever he wants. So I thought it was a compliment. I mean, I don't know.
Right,
That's
right.
a compliment come from me.
Oh my God.
Get a free pre-approval now at
That is so crazy.
This is what goes
for us. Suteras. That's Sutera.
This is why I hate social media.
When it's time to
Yeah.
move, we're right behind you.
Like, if it wasn't a business tool, you would never see me.
Right.
All right. Welcome back to Toole Time Real Estate Radio on WWDB 860 AM. I'm Tom Toole. She's Sarah Timon. We both work at the Tom Toole Sales Group at RE/MAX Mainline, the #1 RE/MAX team in Pennsylvania since 2018. And we're talking about the listing book, the MLS book. This is old school stuff. So I've been in real estate longer than Sarah, and it's been 25 years, and you were able to access the MLS online all the time. Like, I mean, we had like AOL, like the dial-up and all that stuff when I was in high school. So this is something that was done before that, where there would literally be a book of listings in the office that would come out once a month, and you would like look through it with your clients and see which houses you wanted to see. This is how people search for homes. Did you know this?
I mean, it makes sense, but I would imagine it's not very up to date.
How frustrating
And
must that be?
identify all the identify properties that have already been sold. And
That's got to be, I mean, we're very lucky to live in the world we live in right now. So the reason we're talking about this, and if you get some value out of this, you like what you hear, make sure to subscribe to the channel. And if you want to figure out how you can find out about all these off-market listings that apparently exist, Sarah can help you with all that. Click on the link in the comments to connect with her. So Compass, who is bringing back the concept, they are adamant about their private exclusive, and they are anti-CCP. And I give their CEO a lot of credit. He does not care what anyone thinks, and he is charging ahead with this. I mean, I got no problem with a legal business model, to be very clear. Like, this is all legal. Do whatever you want, whatever's best for your company. I don't know that it really benefits sellers all the time. We've talked about that at length. But if you believe in something, I love that you're pushing it.
Sure.
I love the thought process here. I give a lot of credit there. So they're bringing back the concept. So we talked about this on our podcast over the weekend. It's called the Private Exclusives Book. It's a collection of off MLS listings that buyers can only view in person at select Compass offices. So do you have like enough free time? You're going to like an office to peruse the book? Is that something that you could find in your schedule, being a mom and having a career and your husband works?
Well, and can you imagine, like, I feel like clients already, like, it's sometimes hard for them to find the time to open the emails and go through the listings when they're like sitting on the couch at the end of the day. Scheduling for them to come in and look at them. I mean, I guess they're going to be very motivated, and you probably have a cool swing on it or like a hook on it to make them want to come in and do it.
I guess. So they're going to have this one location, the largest location in each market will have this initially. It includes all their private exclusive listings from the brokerages and will be updated multiple times a week. If the offices, and there might be like a digital version as well. What do you think about this? I mean, is this like a troll move? Is this a innovative, or is it? I mean, what's your reaction here?
I mean, if there's a digital version that they could send,
they still got to go to the office.
Oh, but if there's like a line, I hate lines.
I just waited in a very long line on Friday to get a real ID. I don't want to see a line for good like 12 months. So I'm with you on that.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll have to see how that plays out.
Well, I mean, so Robert Refkin put a post up on Instagram. He said, introducing the Compass Private Exclusive Book. private isn't hidden, exclusive isn't secret. Okay, nice marketing there. They're sharing all the off MLS listings with the entire brokerage community. They are inviting agents to come in to look at these 1-to-1. Sounds like a great recruiting pitch to me. It's probably what they're doing.
Okay, got
No, not like, so any agent could be
Okay.
with Remax or, Keller Williams, anybody. And they're you can look at this one-on-one. It's to promote greater transparency and collaboration. It's reimagining the spirit of the original MLS book, but anyone could get the original MLS book, so that's not accurate. I give him credit for doing this. Like, I think I think some of this is just to get attention and get people talking.
Sure.
And I like the pushback here, but I mean, Compass always marketed themselves as a tech company, and now they're coming out with a book. I mean,
Right.
I don't understand all this here. So
Yeah.
what do you think about this? I mean, I know I didn't prep you for this at all because I wanted to get the authentic Sarah Timon reaction here. I mean, this is just, the whole thing's wild to me.
I mean, I feel like it's an interesting move because this day and age, everybody wants things to be like streamlined and easier for them to like access and do when people's schedules are jam-packed. So like to be able to do it when they have a few minutes to look through things, right? So going into, a physical location to look through a book, which it's not like you're the only one that gets to see the book. Like, it's not like it's a book just that only you have eyes on. I mean, obviously way fewer, like it's going to be amongst people, only those willing to come into the office and look at it. So you'd have a smaller pool, but I don't know how frequently you would want to go in and do that.
I mean, you look at so our market here is very interesting because I think there's some very walkable places and then there's some non-walkable places. So like if you're trying to get foot traffic, I don't think that's going to bring anybody in.
Right.
People, I don't even know if offices are staffed on the weekends anymore.
Right.
We used to have, so to give some perspective, we had an office in Paoli right next to the train station before we moved to Devon. We would get like a couple walk-ins a year, but not many. And it was, and this was like 20 years ago. So I can't imagine, everyone wants things now on their phone. Like that's the reality. So I don't know that that's going to generate anything. I look at it as I think it's maybe a recruiting strategy to get more, like, I love the idea of getting agents in the office 1-to-1, because I think when you get someone into the office, you can actually bring them into your company.
Yeah.
So I think that could have some runway. And I mean, I get these emails all the time about these private exclusives. It's not like I'm not finding out about them.
Right.
And do you get them pretty frequently?
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think it might be, I like that Robert Refkin saying like, hey, NAR, this is what I'm doing. I don't really care what you guys think. I mean, he's getting sued by the Northwest MLS. I mean, there's all sorts of stuff happening here.
Right. And he's just going for it. Yeah.
I give him credit for, I mean, if you believe in something, I think you got to go all in.
Sure.
So I give a lot of credit there. I said this on our podcast. I got a lot of negative reaction over the weekend. Do you want to hear this clip that we played on the Knowledge Brokers podcast?
Yes.
We'll go for it here. All right. Well, I couldn't play it. Hold on. Let me try this again here. This is real life radio. I had to unmute. I also have my son's laptop, which that probably doesn't help.
Not give it.
Here we go.
About anything, and is just pushing this as hard as possible. Compass is calling the project Compass Private Exclusive Book, and it's a curated collection of Compass private exclusives available for viewing in Compass offices. Agents from all brokerages are invited to visit any Compass office to individually browse private exclusives on a 1-to-1 basis.
This book isn't going to have any steam. One of two things is true. Robert Refkin has become the Elon Musk of our industry, and this is a troll move. He is levels beyond everybody's thinking. I think he knows that it's going to create conversation. I just put out a clip, Compass friends. Like, you got to be fair with me. I said I've got no problem with somebody doing a legal business model. And one thing I've been consistent on, Compass is not a tech company. Their ceiling is Sotheby's 2.0. And if number 2 is true, that the physical book is actually part of their plan, then that just undresses them as, nope, we're not a tech company. It's a troll move, guys. This is silly. They're trying to trap us. This cannot be a real thing.
So what do you think of Byron's comments there? I mean, he was a little more animated than I was.
Yeah. I mean, it's pretty accurate.
I got like obliterated over the weekend. I mean, and I think they're on one side of this debate or other. I guess it's people at Compass versus the ones that aren't. I think everyone's way too worked up about this.
Right.
I'm just going to try to help people like list and sell houses, Sarah. I think that might
Right.
be the best advice for agents here.
Yeah. No, I agree. I'm also like, okay, so if you go into the office and then there's like virtual versions of it. I'm just trying to think through like the actual.
Well, it could be like an
logistics here.
ebook, like on an iPad or something.
So like
you know?
because like, multiple people, or do you have to book a time? Like,
I don't know.
I'm like the logistics of it or whatever. Like, I know there's a lot more to like think about than that, but for my first thought is just like the logistics of it.
But you can't even get real estate agents to show up to their own office, let
Right.
alone go to someone else's office. So
Yeah.
I think that's where the problem lies here. So interesting stuff. Robert, keep fighting your fight, man. I give you a lot of credit there, but I don't know if this one's going to have any steam. So that's it for this week's episode. You want to follow Sarah? She's at Ty_Ty Time on Instagram. You can follow me at TomToole3RD. And we're streaming every week on YouTube. Click on the link in the comments. You need to talk to us. And we'll be back next week on Toole Time Real Estate Radio on WWDB 860 AM. Let me stop this.